CSS3 defines 3 new pseudo-classes that can be used to style form elements depending on their state: disabled, enabled and checked. And of course you can also use the focus pseudo-class that comes from CSS2. Their use is fairly straightforward, so without further ado, let's get styling. In this form here, the first 2 text input elements are disabled. You can see the disabled attribute here and the disabled attribute here. So let's give them a separate style to show that they are disabled. So input disabled. And we'll give them a border of 1 pixel, dotted grey colour. Nice dark grey there. And we'll also give the text the same colour. So I just switch on live view. You'll see that there's a dotted border around there and the text is greyed out. And you can't even click in those fields. Although there's a disabled attribute, there isn't an equivalent enabled one. By default, anything that's not disabled is enabled. So we'll create a separate style rule for text input fields that are not disabled using the enabled pseudo-class. So input, and we'll make sure that it applies only to text input fields by using an attribute selector. So type equals text and the enabled pseudo-class. We'll give that a border of 1 pixel, solid, dark maroon. So, updating live view, you can see that we've now got the dark maroon border around those 2 fields that are enabled, or to be technically precise, that are not disabled. Now it'd be nice to indicate if a field has focus by using the focus pseudo class. So let's create a rule for that. So when the field has focus, we'll have a green border around it. Now what I would like to do is to give a box shadow to the field when it's got focus, and it's a bit difficult to create the box shadow directly in code view. So what I'm going to do now is refresh CSS styles. I can now select the focus pseudo class here, and I need to go to the category view because that's where I'll find the WebKit box shadow, which you need for live view in Dreamweaver CS55. WebKit box shadow and color. I can see that the color format is already RGBA, so I'll just go straight to the color that I want, which is this green. And then the offset, what should we have? Instead of having X and Y offsets, what I'm going to do is to create a spread and a blur. So make the blur radius 7 pixels, quite a big blur radius, and the spread not quite so big, just 3. Now you can't actually see the effect in live view because it doesn't have focus. There's no way round that, but I've tested this, you just have to believe me. So click away from there. And now you can see, for some reason it wasn't working while I was working in the little panel, but as soon as you move away from the panel, live view springs back to life. Right, I'm going to change the alpha transparency on that to 0.3 so it's not quite so in your face. And then we need to just copy and paste that, so we've got the other vendor specific properties and the ordinary property. So we remove the WebKit from there. So the last one is the standard property, and the first one will make that Moz for Firefox. So that should now work in all modern browsers. I'm going to apply the same technique to the checkbox if it's checked by using the checked pseudo class. So I'm going to copy that rule and paste it. I need to remove that border and then change it from input, get rid of the attribute selector and change the focus pseudo class to the checked pseudo class. Now let's save that and see what it looks like in a real browser. Here's the form in Internet Explorer 9. You can see that the disable fields are greyed out with dotted borders. If I put my cursor in the street field, it's got a nice little glow behind it. And if I check the checkbox, again, there's a nice little glow behind it. You get a similar effect in Firefox 4. But unfortunately, with the WebKit browsers, Safari and Chrome, they're a little bit more fussy about what you do with forms, so the effects don't come across quite as well. So as always, you need to check what your sites look like in a variety of browsers until you can be happy with what you're getting.